I set up the Drifta Stockton Hexa Tarp up on the beach, and I didn't expect that the forecast wasn't very windy weather. But it's funny, Murphy's Law, it just seems to be this law that whenever I set this up, as soon as I start setting it up or halfway through setting it up, the strong wind just blows through. And boy, Murphy's Law didn't let me down yesterday, let me tell you what. It was incredible. So just watch the video and you'll see what I mean. Halfway through, just had a look. Now to be honest, I wasn't sure if it was going to work, mainly because of the pegs, because I was pegging in soft sand. So using these pegs here, these are super peg, and they're 49 centimetre sand pegs. So I went to my local BCF store the other day and bought the longest pegs I can find. And when I set that up, that video you're watching, I only used 4 of these pegs. And I used another 2 for the centre part, just there, where that pole is. Okay, shorter pegs, so it would have only been about that long. So I only had 4 of these long pegs. So what I'm going to do next time, I'm actually going to go and get about another 6 of these. So next time in the conditions, particularly if the wind gets a bit strong or the sands are even softer than what that is, you could actually set 2 of these on each corner. Okay, so one for the corner there, one for that part there, and the other one for right up there, for these poles, this rope that comes down here. So at the moment, I've got 2 of those set up. So today's video, I'm kind of going to talk a bit about that with the way you set up these tarps, because I find with these tarps that it makes a big difference on how you got those angles set up, those ropes, and where you got the pegs at. Particularly if you want to only set up your 4 main pegs around the outside, which gives you a maximum of 6. You have to really make sure you get those angles right. So I was thinking yesterday, you might see if you watched the full video, I was sitting down under the tarp talking to Stephen. He came with me on the trip yesterday. So you might have noticed I came with an idea. What if I used a tape measure and measure in between these 2 poles? That way, every time I go to camp, I don't have to pull the tarp out to get that length. Because I pull the tarp out, lay it on the ground, I pull either ends, and as you watched yesterday when it was really really windy I should say, the actual fact, particularly on my own, to get those tarps out, just to get those distance right, was a little bit of a challenge in that strong wind. So I thought while I was sitting down, why not measure? So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to grab my tape measure and let's measure and see how far apart those poles are, and we'll jot that down somewhere. So next time I go camping, instead of pulling the tarp out, it's full length to try to get those poles out in the right position. Why not just measure out the length is? That way I can go to camp, get the tarp out, get the tape measure out. That way we can go to camp, get the tape measure out, measure that point, locate where it's got to go, get the poles out, set the poles up, get it at the right angle. But I got one more tip as well I was thinking of yesterday afternoon when I came home, because every time I set up my camping gear on the beach, when I come home I always give it a good clean down. So that's why my tarp is up at the backyard now. So I came back home yesterday, I put it up and I hosed it down, so she's dry now. I'm going to put it down shortly. But I had one more idea. I'm going to show you what that is. I've got my tape measure. Now this is just a relatively cheap tape measure that I picked up a while back. I think it was from Bunnings, and it's a 10 metre length tape, so I know it's got plenty of length. So let's go and check and see. So first we want to make sure the poles are perpendicular, straight up and down, of course. Okay, so now, so what I'm going to do here now, as I mentioned before, we're going to measure this and see how far apart this is. That way next time I go to set this up, I'll only need to, so that's 4.7 meters. Now, another tip, okay, I can give you that I've picked up, hang on, let's prove that, there's shades on my hat. Another tip I was thinking, particularly yesterday, while I was setting this up, again, you know how I keep mentioning it's really important you get these pegs in the right spot. That way these corner bits are nice and taut when you set up, because if they're off and not on the right angle, your tarp, no matter how hard you pull these ropes, your tarp's not going to be set up taut, and that's going to be a problem in the wind. And I think that's the problem I had with some of the first couple of times I set this up. I didn't realise that, how important these were. Now if I had to use separate, you can use separate pegs for the ones on the corner, but you don't need to. You can get away with just the 6 pegs, and the idea with these tarps is quick setup, easy to do solo. Because you know me, I don't like something that's too fiddly, something that takes too long to set up, and something that's too hard to set up on your own. So I thought, a big thing that I noticed of late, even if I get these in the perfect spot, these pegs, you got to make sure you get this main pole in the perfect spot. So if it's got right out here, it could end up right out here, and that's going to just put everything out. So why not? Even if you've got your own trusty tape measure or something, or one of these spare poles, just put it right there on the ground before you set it all up. So you take your measurement, which we know is 4.7 meters, mark those spots, 4.7 meters, and then you get your pole. You know how you get your poles, and you, oh, okay, just see if I can try this. This is really hot. You know, you get your poles, you set them down like this, and it's like that, okay, and then you go either end like this, and at the end there, that's where you put your one peg, and do the same. I've shown you this a few times, so you should get the idea now how that's done over there. And then when you put this back, you put it back over there, but then you lift it up. When you lift it up, if you make sure you've got this end of this pole in that right spot right there, okay, all of these pegs, ropes are all going to be in your ideal position once you put them out. And I tried that yesterday when I set this up, and usually you might notice you watched the video that I uploaded this morning, and you'll notice that one of the pegs I had to relocate. It was off angle a bit, and it wasn't getting this part here. This part here wasn't tight enough. So you've got to get these things at the right angle to get them taut. So if you only want to use one peg in each corner, and why not? The tarp's hexa shape, it's designed that way. Less time to set up, particularly if the ground is reasonably hard. But as I proved yesterday, even with soft ground, just those 4 main pegs, those sand pegs I used, was enough to keep it up. But if the wind got up a bit more, it might have started pulling those pegs out. So then in those situations, you could easily set 2 of those sand pegs, 1 for each rope. And I think that will help a lot. Now another peg you can get is the screw-in ones. Okay, you can buy these screw-in ones that screw into the sand, but the only problem with them is then you've got to carry a big drill with you, rechargeable battery drill. And if you're carrying a drill with you, that then means you've got to carry a charger with you. And these pegs are quite long. I do have some, they're about so long. I know they would work really well. The problem then, to get them into the ground, you need a really big drill. Something like my 18-volt Milwaukee drill will do it. But the charger width's huge, so it's going to take up more space in your vehicle. I mean, if you've got a trailer, you've got a big tray back, you've got plenty of room, no problems at all. But we're all about saving weight here and saving volume. Okay? So that's what my channel's about. So we're going to carry not too much gear with us when we're traveling to keep the weight down the vehicle, because I don't have a trailer or anything, and I've got a rooftop tent on top of the vehicle, so I've got to consider that as well. And then depending where I go, by the time you carry the water as well, and I've got the 75 litre fridge freezer in the back there as well. So yeah, it quickly adds up. So every kilo by the end of the day, and it's something I've learnt in my backpacking years when I was doing ultralight backpacking. A gram here, a gram there, 100 grams here, before you know it, you got, it adds up. You'll be amazed how quick it adds up. So I just want to get away with using the 6 pegs. Okay, so if I have to, I'll use the additional 4 for the corners. But majority of the time it's going to be the 6 pegs, so you've got to make sure you get those angles right. So yesterday morning when I marked those spots out, I knew exactly where to put that pole, because those poles were based, those measurements where those pegs are going when I did that lay down like that. Okay, and then you go up like that, peg here, boom, peg there. I think you get the idea now. Let me know if you don't understand. I'll see if I can get someone, a videographer one day, to film me up close and show you how, as I'm setting it up, because I'm on my own, so hence I'm stuck with the tripod. And let me know if you want that video. I can film that in the future as soon as I get a chance. I'm going to go visit family soon that I haven't seen since the COVID thing has started in the next week and a half. So, and I'll be dropping by at the Drifta Brandale store, or possibly the new store that they're relocating on Moss Street, somewhere around Slucks Creek, I think it is. I'll be dropping around there probably around the 11th of November, thereabouts. I'll be dropping in there. Now, when I marked those spots off and I put those poles up after I laid the legs out, that thing was perfect. So look at that setup now. There's a bit of wind here, okay, don't get me wrong. It's not that there's no wind, there actually is a bit of wind here. You can see the trees moving around. And we've got nice tension right through here, that one and that one as well. And that's what happens if you've got that pole on this side a bit more, then generally this is going to be too loose. If you've got it too far, I said pole, I mean peg. If you've got the peg too far that way, this section will be loose. And if you've got a bit of wind around, the thing's just going to flap, flap, flap all over the place. So it's only going to be a short video, this one, so I won't go any longer. I'll edit this now and I'll upload it. So there'll be 2 videos today. So once again, thanks for watching this video. Let me know if you got one of these tarps. Put a comment. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you think of my ideas for setting up. Let me know how you go in the wind. I'm curious to hear other people's experience. So please subscribe, and till next time, cheers, look after yourself.